All right, we are back with another episode of the Nintendo Pipeline Podcast. I'm CMM, your host today, and with me we have a special guest. Could you introduce yourself?
Hi, yeah. My name is Chris, or on the Discord, SuperNintendad. How's it going?
Sweet. Hey, thank you for joining us. We are here today because there was another Indie World, as there usually is this time of year. Bunch of different game announcements today, and we're going to kind of dive in to some of the ones that we thought were interesting, and then I know that that Chris has also played a bit of some of these, so we can give some more details on some of these if there's any games from this presentation that you guys were looking to pick up. So I guess a good place to start would be the very first game that was shown.
Yeah.
Which is called Sea of Stars from the Messenger developers.
Yeah.
Really cool looking action RPG. I believe it has action elements to it.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it has action or if it's just... It almost looks like Chrono Trigger mixed with like Golden Sun or elements. It
looked like it seemed to have some kind of like timing or like button mashing elements to some of the moves. So I guess kind of like like Mario RPG or something. I'm bad at RPGs, so I don't have a lot of reference.
Yeah.
But it looked I thought it looked absolutely stunning. Really good looking game.
Yeah, the graphics are fantastic, I think. Pixel almost looks like 17-bit. I don't know. It's like somewhere between 16 and 32. It's like in there it looks like, modern pixel graphics, overhead, almost like isometric battle system.
Yeah, it gave me the Chrono Trigger and like Mario RPG vibe when you're in battle.
Yeah.
Where it's kind of like over, like isometric. And this game takes place in the Messenger universe. Which, I don't know if you've played Messenger. I played the Messenger and really liked it.
Yeah, I did. I played the Messenger, really enjoyed it. And this here just, I think they said it's a prequel, but it takes place in on the same, I guess, planet or same universe, and it just looks like the studio is just making new versions of the games that they liked as growing up. And so they had, Ninja Gaiden, now they got Chrono Trigger, and who knows what's next, Super Mario 64 maybe.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? I really enjoyed how the feeling of the Messenger. They nailed that game very well, and based on Messenger as well, I'm guessing the Sea of Stars soundtrack will be excellent because the Messenger soundtrack is so good.
Yeah, and this soundtrack, they said they have some songs done by the composer of Chrono Trigger.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right. I'd forgotten about that. Mitsuda. Or as the girl in the presentation said, Yasunori.
Yeah.
Mitsuda.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she.
I chuckled. But yeah, so this one's not until the end of next year, but I think started off the whole presentation with a bang. And then we go right into Alicia, which is the Taiwanese developed game that was being shown. And this one I thought was interesting. I wasn't like, I was kind of okay, whatever about it, until they mentioned that when you're doing co-op, you have one person playing docked with motion controls, and then the other character is in portable mode using the touch screen. And I really like asymmetric multiplayer and asymmetric co-op stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm curious about this one for that primarily. It seems to be mostly like an action puzzle game.
Yeah, it almost looked like some of the sort of puzzles you might try and solve and see in Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, it did have that vibe to it. There's that little robot thing I recall seeing, and there's like I want to say it's I don't know if it's portable mode or not, but one of the characters it's a first person perspective, which I thought was interesting that they're both kind of very different from each other.
Yeah, because I think the little robot can like fly around, and then the girl or the woman just runs around, and like so you're solving the same puzzle but being in completely different areas of the in order to solve the puzzles.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's cooperative, but you're also kind of doing some of your own tasks as well, which I like. I know, like for me, like when I was playing, and I don't know if this will happen with this game, but when I was playing like Portal 2 in co-op, I played with someone who like knew the game very well. So what a lot of that devolved into was like, they would do most of the stuff, and I would just kind of stand where I was needed to stand.
Yeah. That sort of happened to me with like if you're the last person to run a raid with your friends in Destiny 2, it's like they're like, oh, here's what you need to do, run over there, and then they're like, you're just kind of doing what they tell you to do.
Yeah, I'm hoping that this avoids that a bit. I also did not know that the game was called Alicia based on the logo. I had to hear them say it afterwards.
It definitely could use a new logo because it just looks like two upside down hermit crab shells, and then just like a bunch of like scribble, like they pick like the one, when you write something out and then you look at all the different fonts you can use, it's like the one font that like barely has any part of the letter, but you can't really make it out.
Yeah, I was like, oh, Alicia, and then they're like, no, actually. So hopefully they get that sorted.
Yeah, I thought they were talking about a different game, because I was like, no, that's not what the logo said. That's yeah.
And so, we start with these two, I mean, they're fairly action based games, and then the next game that comes up is a point and click, Locomotive. I know you were particularly interested in this one.
Yeah, there's a game that came out earlier this year that kind of like shadow dropped. It was by the people that did Heaven's Vault, and it was called Overboard! And and in that game you have to, I believe this is in the trailer, you murder your husband and then you have to somehow get away with it by the time the boat gets ashore. It's like a cruise ship, and so like you walk around and talk to people, and you might like flirt with somebody to try and like get away with it, or you do all sorts of different stuff. And in this game it seems like I don't know if you switch between the three or you pick what character you want, but there's three people, like main characters, that are suspects. So you're walking around trying to say, no, it wasn't me, but at the same time possibly figuring out who did it, and if it was one of the other two people to try and solve it. And it's like a 2D point and click game, all on a train. It seems like a nice luxurious train where like everyone was all dressed fancily, and everyone's favorite word, fancily. And you go around and try and prove that it wasn't you, even though it seems like you as the player don't know if they actually did it or not. So you're trying to like solve it, and it seems like each character has different like assets that they can use to solve the case. They can get around to solving it and figure out how to do it.
Yeah, so like I think it mentioned, I want to say it mentioned in there that you kind of just automatically change characters as you go through. So I'm kind of curious how that will work. But they had that one character who was like what, like an agent or something. It was very different from
It seemed
the other
like he was like
characters.
her lawyer. The one was her lawyer, and then the
Yeah.
one guy was always walking around with a magnifying glass because that's what people do.
Yeah, yeah, of course. If
Yeah.
you're a detective, that's exactly what your job is. It was like her best friend, her lawyer, and I don't remember the connection, but they're all closely connected to this old lady who just bites it at the beginning.
Yeah, and then the other woman might like work for her or something, or work on the train.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think it's a very interesting premise. It gives me, in terms of like the style, I think it looks fine. It's it gives me like Sierra adventure game kind of vibes a little bit.
Yeah,
Not quite, but a little bit, just because you're kind of directly controlling the character in this. It looks like. Um, I thought it was kind of funny. Like, oh yeah, point and click game, but there wasn't actually any pointing and clicking shown.
right. Yeah, I didn't see any. I don't know if they just didn't know what else to call it, but it didn't.
Yeah,
I mean, it wasn't quite like, like the old LucasArts games, but maybe you just pick what. Maybe I don't know. Maybe they were playing with touch controls. Who knows?
yeah. I'm curious if like maybe they had like the UI like disabled for purposes of the trailer or something. I'm curious how it actually like plays. Um, but it looks like a fun little compelling murder mystery, and it does kind of sound like very much like a contemporary of Overboard that you mentioned. Like it's kind of like a parallel game, um,
Yeah.
where it's like isolated vehicle, someone dies solving a murder, or in that one's case, trying to get away with it. But in this one, you don't know who did it, so maybe they're all trying to get away with
Right.
it. Who
Yeah,
knows?
they could all be trying, or like we'll get to the end and it turns out she's faking it. Who knows?
Yeah, I hope so. That'll be funny. I liked her voice in the trailer. I hope that the game has voice in it.
Yeah, because she seemed to
Uh,
be narrating it, talking about
yeah,
the people who potentially could have been the one that killed her as you're playing as
right,
them. At least that's how the trailer made it look.
right. Yeah, it was very charming. I'll just say that point and click stuff isn't really my thing personally, but I thought it had a lot of personality, and I love the pun, so
Yeah.
that kind of won me over immediately.
Yeah, and this, I don't remember the studio, but they said it was their first game, and Chucklefish is publishing it. So,
Right, that's right. The studio name, find out real quick here. I have the PR open so I can check. Was what locomotive? It was. They didn't put it in order in PR, of course.
yeah.
Robust Games is the name.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, it was like what, two brothers, I think. I don't know if it was brothers
I think
or not.
so,
It
yeah.
might have just been two people. Yeah. So that's summer 2022. So that's another one that's a little farther out. Um, and then we kind of moved to something a little bit different, which is the game After Love EP. It has this very specific drawn style to it with like kind of like a manga style cutscene visuals.
Yeah.
Um,
Um,
so they described this game at first. They said that your girlfriend, her name is Cheetah, I believe, and she recently passed away, and you're someone who's struggling to make music, after that, and kind of like dealing with all that. And initially I thought they said that your girlfriend cheated on you and died, and I was like, damn,
no, yeah, it's just her
that
name
sucks.
is Cheetah, and she died.
Her name is Cheetah.
Yeah.
This one, I enjoy the rhythm element.
Yeah,
Um, to this. And it has an interesting location. It's in Indonesia. And it's by the people who did Coffee Talk and What Comes After.
Yeah, I think they said the creative director, right? Was like
Yes.
the creative director of those. And the game itself, like the art style of the game, sort of remind me of Florence, which came out.
Yes.
I think like 2 years ago or 3 years ago on the Switch.
Yeah,
and
that sounds right.
Yeah, and that was a really compelling story, and this sort of seems like you're kind of going through the motions of like it's just going to be like a really nice looking story that you might interact with a little bit here and there, but this, like you said, with the music, it seems like more in line with like actually doing more gameplay than, especially even in like Coffee Talk, you didn't really do much other than have a story told to you.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Because Coffee Talk is very like I haven't played it. I've seen a little bit of it just to get an idea of how it works. And yeah, it's much more like it's a lot more reading than active play for the most part.
You're kind of like a barista, and people are just talking, and there's a story going on. And
yeah, whereas this one you're very much kind of like doing things like you're wandering through some kind of world. There's the rhythm sections. I think it's an interesting mix. I wasn't totally sold on it itself. Like, not because I don't think it would be cool. I guess it's the style didn't really grab me initially, and I'm personally a little wary of stuff that tries to be like very heartfelt. I guess it kind of takes a bit for me to like see if I dig that or not, but it's an interesting mix of genres.
Yeah. I'll certainly check it out as long as it's not like $30 when it comes out. But yeah, it's a game that I think like it's visually striking. It's just a matter of like when it falls, like when it comes out. If there's a lot of other stuff coming out around it, like this could be a game that has like a really good week all to itself, or it just gets lost in the shuffle of everything else that comes out, and I forget to ever pick it up, which is what happens a lot of times with these some of the indie games, that they look really good, but then they don't come out for like 3 years, and then by then it's like, oh yeah, I forgot about that game, and then it's like other stuff.
They all get lost sometimes in the shuffle, especially in between like bigger releases, or if you don't remember the name, or it's it's that game with the fox or that game with the
right, yeah, like the sled and the dogs, like the dog sledding, yeah. Red something.
So this is another one that's summer 2022. So hopefully it doesn't get lost in the shuffle.
Yeah.
And apparently her name's not Cheetah, it's Cinta. So my ears are really not working today.
Yeah.
Alicia, Cinta, Cheetah, whatever.
Yeah, Cheetah. She's cheating on you, and
Cheetah cheating on me. Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah.
I would have been. I honestly thought that's what it said, and I actually laughed out loud. Like, I wish that's what it was. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
So, Chris has played some of the games that were featured in the presentation today, or has played at least like the previous game in the series. So we're actually gonna save some of that for the end. So we're gonna jump ahead a little bit here for the next game, which is Endling: Extinction is Forever. Speaking of the Fox game, this one. So I don't know about you. I really dug the gameplay concept of protecting your cubs and kind of wandering through this like dangerous this dangerous world, which is very like, it's a very depressing world.
Yeah.
I wasn't as so how do I put this? It kind of worries me that it's going to be very heavy-handed with the message from what they showed.
Yeah, it seems to be. It's you and your 3 babies, and they could die or couldn't die, and it's like the extinction of your species is up to you to make it out of this game alive with your 3 baby cubs or baby foxlings, endlings.
Right. And I'm kind of afraid it's because I I don't know if I saw it right. Maybe you can tell me. I'm pretty sure there was like a sign in the background that was like oxygen is a right or something like that. And I was like, all right, I get it. Like, it's like one of those things where it's like, okay. I mean, that's their creative choice, and some people are super down for that. For me, it just kind of feels like it's beating me over the head with it a little bit too much. But I do really like the idea of, having to survive with your cubs, and the ability, the game changes or the story changes and the ending changes depending on, how many of them survive, and that you would probably, want to play through the game multiple times, to kind of see how that whole thing goes.
Yeah, it seemed like it was very like open-ended in terms of branching paths. A lot of the trailer, they showed you like hiding from humans, like so you wouldn't know. Some humans just kind of looked at you funny, and then other ones, when they saw you, they started chasing you and tried to like hunt you down. So right. It seemed like you didn't know who you could trust. And then at the same time, you got to like hide in the shadows. And then if you see a human coming, it seemed like you could tell the babies to like jump in the bush, and then you would like distract
commanding them.
Yeah.
And I think they mentioned that they learn skills as you go on.
Oh yeah, they showed them climbing up, like climbing up. Edge of a hill or something, and right as they were saying, you can teach them how to do things so that they can move on. And then I almost feel like the game's gonna end with the mom dying, saving the cubs' lives at the very end.
Oh yeah.
And then it's like, oh well, at least I taught them everything they need to know to survive without me. And then credits, oxygen.
Yeah, credits, oxygen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, some of the areas they showed were very visually striking. I think the game looks very cool. I think the fox cubs in particular are adorable. There's some scenes there where it's like there's a woods area that's like on fire. Some other, like a lot of snowy areas. And yeah, the different humans kind of reacting in different ways. I think it's very fascinating, especially from a gameplay perspective, which is why I'm curious about it at all.
Yeah.
That one is that one is spring 2022. So that's the same release window as Alicia, Olivia, the Twin Goddesses is another spring one.
I mean, a lot of these games, like whatever the date is, I don't even look at it unless it's like a very specific date, like out later today, or it's April 4th or something, whatever, when they give an actual date. When it's like spring 2022, there's so many games that were either at Nintendo Directs, and even games that were at like Nintendo Directs or Indie Worlds, or I guess they were like Nindy showcases back then, when the Switch first came out, that still aren't out, like Minoko's Cat Market.
Yeah.
And there's just a couple games. I remember there was one game, it was like the Hat King or King of the Hats or something like that, and there was like
I vaguely remember that.
Couple games like that. That one ended up launching on Discord back when Discord used to sell games, and then
Yeah.
that didn't work out, so they might not have had funding for the Switch version. Who knows? Or it's still in early access. I know some of these games they announce them for the Switch, and then they end up being in early access for a lot longer than they intended. So they'll come to the Switch eventually.
Right. And speaking of, games with the release dates, the next one here does have a release date, and it's Ollie Ollie World. That one's on February 8th. I don't know how familiar you are with the previous Ollie Ollie or Ollie Ollie games.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
So what do you find interesting about World? What are you looking forward to?
Well, the game, the graphics itself reminds me almost of the Tony Hawk, the first Tony Hawk game on the DS. It was cel shaded, sort of like this, and it kind of reminds me of that. Plus the old Ollie Ollie games like Ollie Ollie and Ollie Ollie 2, I really liked. I still remember I even got like Ollie Ollie 1 on the 3DS. Like that came out a long time ago. And then I think I even got it on the Wii U maybe.
Yeah. I think they had that double pack.
Yeah, and then they eventually announced it. I remember they originally tweeted out about it, and they were like, "Hey, we got an Ollie Ollie announcement coming. If you're a Switch fan, you might want to pay attention." And then the tweet was, "Hey, if this gets enough retweets, we might consider making Ollie Ollie on the Switch, Ollie Ollie 1 and 2, like the double pack." And people got so mad about that they were like, they took the tweet down and they were like, "Okay, we're just going to make it. Sorry about that." That was just, yeah. But in terms of this is like more open world, and I like the art style, and it just seems to be bigger and more robust than the other one. They seem to really put a big emphasis on creating your character, like your skater, I guess.
Yeah, there's a lot of customization there. There's even a pre-order bonus for this.
I thought this was going to be one of those out today games, and instead they were like, it's not coming out until February 8th or something. But they were like, but if you pre-order it today, or pre-order before it comes out, you get this costume. And then I looked it up on the eShop. They got a $30 version and a $45 version. And the $45 version seems to have like 2 different DLC packs. One's coming in August, and the other one's coming out by December 2022.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Which is still weird to say because, even Sea of Stars was like holiday 2022, which in my head is like summer 2023, but we'll see what happens,
Yeah. Yeah, I really like the emphasis on branching paths. In Ollie Ollie World, it looks like there's a lot of different routes you can take. The game looks very playful. And they showed that online thing too. The quest for Nirvana, I believe it's called.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't totally understand how that worked. But it seems like they're going for a fun, like, competitive element for this.
It seemed like... Sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, the previous ones, did they have any online element to them?
I think they were, like, all level-based, so it would be leaderboards. But which I kind of think that's what this is. I think it's sort of like a leaderboard, but since it's like such a big world, it's like who has the highest score starting on this rail, and then they keep track of that, and then it's like, oh, you got the high score on this railing, and then so on and so forth.
Yeah, like they break it down into some sort of chunks. I think it's cool. I know a lot of people are looking forward to this one. I'm glad to see it, and glad to see it have a date, because it was originally supposed to be this year. But February 8th isn't too bad. good to have an actual have an actual date for that.
Yeah, that's
And then they followed this up with another big one, which is River City Girls 2. Um, and River City Girls, the original River City Girls, is very, very cool. I still have to get through it because you know how it is. There's a million games.
Yeah.
And, but the combat was very fun. The dialogue is fun. The music and the graphical style is great. It looks like more of the original, but with many more characters. They have 6 characters in this one.
Yeah, the first one was just like you going to get back your boyfriends that were kidnapped, or
Yeah.
and then this one seems to have 4 new characters, and at least 4 new, like 4 that they showed anyway. And then they also have the online multiplayer, because the other one was only local. So they added online multiplayer, which will actually get me to probably play through this one. I don't know how they'll do it. Like, I think with a lot of these online games, it's like your save is making any progress, and then the other person just comes in and plays that character. So next time you play, that character will be whatever level your friend got to it.
Yeah, that's actually that's how even 3D Worlds online works. Is that it only applies the progress to one file.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it was a case like that. I was very happy to see that they're doing online co-op for that, because that expands my options greatly there.
Yeah, I thought they would add it to the first one, but then no, they just they said, you know what, we have an idea. What if you buy a sequel and we'll add online multiplayer to that?
Yeah, I mean, they're going very in on River City Girls, which is cool. I'm glad that it's been successful for them, because not only do we have River City Girls 2, wasn't shown today, but the Super Famicom game that was never localized, which they're localizing here as River City Girls 0, is also coming next year. So they're definitely continuing along this path, and I mean, I think it's a no-brainer. If you enjoy the original River City Girls, I think you're probably excited for River City Girls 2.
I think they just announced that that's coming in 2022. It was going to come this year, but now it got delayed. Like pushed back a little bit. But yeah, that should be out early next year.
River City Girls is another one that is summer 2022.
Yeah, I mean 2022 looks pretty wild if even half of the stuff announced for it. I guess all the indies are getting away from February. They don't want the battle to February.
Yeah, the Pokemon Legends and Elden Ring.
Yeah, and like Sifu and.
Sifu too. I forgot about that. That's also February.
Yeah.
It's there's a wealth of riches coming for anyone who digs games in general. And then so we get to this point here where they show all this stuff, and then they have this montage at the end. And it shows a bunch of stuff really fast.
Oh, well, I think one of the things they showed before that oh no, you're right. They did have the montage before any of this. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they showed Parkosaurus, which again, these are all very much tiny blurbs, but it looks like Roller Coaster Tycoon, but there's dinosaurs there for some reason.
Yeah.
Destroying stuff.
It looks like like you're building a town, but it's like being built by dinosaurs.
Yeah. So, it's like I was struck by that mix. I mean, you have stuff like there's that Jurassic Park game that's like you're building Jurassic Park and there's dinosaurs, but this is a bit different than that. It feels more like you're kind of dealing with dinosaurs invading and having to deal with the dinosaurs as opposed to just like building a zoo or whatever.
Yeah. Apparently, I didn't know, but it was in early access back in September of 2018. And
really,
the description just says Parkosaurus is a dinosaur zoo construction and management simulation, which everything is being built by dinosaurs. So it's like the dinosaurs are walking around, and then you build the park, and then people are walking around, but the workers are dinosaurs, it seems like, and they like freak out the people based on the video that I see.
So like the dinosaurs, like they're kind of like enslaving each other. Like,
yeah,
they're putting each other in a zoo.
Like the dinosaurs are building it, but then then they're in the zoo, and then they got like vets that come in and check on the dinosaurs, but they're human. It's almost like what was that on the 3DS, that show like Dinosaur Park or
Dinosaur Office.
Dinosaur Office. Rawr. Yeah.
Yeah. That was my favorite of the shorts that they featured.
Yeah, I like those. I used to watch them, and then I remember my kids would like watch them too, and they were like super short. So even though they weren't supposed to use the 3D, I would let them watch a short clip of that with the 3D on, and they would be like, "This is the coolest thing I've ever seen," and it's just like the dinosaurs like stop motion. I think they might be on YouTube somewhere.
I think they are. Yeah, they're part of a longer series on YouTube. I remember they gave away like a special video episode of Dinosaur Office. If you like entered this like random contest through Nintendo Video, they did it with like Meet or Die and with Kirby Right Back at You as well. But the one that I wanted was Dinosaur Office, and I didn't win that one. I won Meet or Die. Which I don't care about Meet or Die.
Yeah. I don't think anyone did.
No. And so we got Parkosaurus, and then we have Don't Starve Together, although I think we're going to talk about that in a little bit. Not quite yet. A bunch of other games. And then the last one in the montage is called Behind the Frame, The Finest Scenery, or probably if you've talked about it online, it's like, the painting game, because of course no one remembers the name. I believe this was shown at one of the summer game, indie reels or
the indie
events.
Slam Fests or whatever it was.
The extremely disorganized summer of video game nonsense. And I remember thinking this one was really interesting because like you had like a neighbor, and like you kind of talked to your neighbor, and like you painted stuff, and like it's very visually striking. Now I remember at the time it was confirmed for some platforms. I don't recall if it was confirmed for Switch at that time, but I remember thinking, I'd like to play this on Switch.
Oh yeah, I think it was like PC and maybe Game Pass. I can't remember.
Yeah, it wasn't. I feel like I think that's accurate. It was like PC and Game Pass, and like that was it. And I was like, oh, okay. I'm glad to see it coming. I wish they wasn't part of a montage, just so I could have seen more of it and kind of remembered a little bit more.
Yeah, it sort of looked more like another one of those like storytelling games, but like you're painting things, and like as you paint, like it's almost like unpacking, where even though you're doing something else in the game, like as you're doing it, a story is being told to you.
Yeah, because I believe, remember correctly, in Behind the Frame, you're pretty much just in your apartment the whole time, and you talk to your neighbor like out the window, like stuff. So it's like a very like, a very enclosed area, and this kind of you're painting, and this stuff sort of happens around you.
Yeah, and the game, the art style almost looks like a painting.
Yeah, it's very striking.
Yeah.
And I believe the main character, I remember thinking, oh, she's super cool. But like you even do cooking and like research online and stuff. Like you're kind of like living this character's life.
Yeah. I think her name was Cheetah if I remember correctly.
Yeah, wow.
I think that was it.
I gotta look now what his name is. It
It
doesn't
might
say.
not
It's
even
not part of
say,
the
yeah.
PR. Yeah. And then, of course, after the montage, there's got to be one more thing.
Oh, yeah.
And the one more thing is Omori, which has been people have wanted this game on Switch for a while now. I think the whole joke is that it is a game about depression. I think that was kind of like what the Steam listing was.
I think so, yeah.
Like, we get it. Yes, this game is about depression. We get it, or something like that. This one is a very striking RPG. The obvious comparison you're going to get is Earthbound.
Yeah, Earthbound, and then like with the art, and then the battle system. It looks like the art is drawn on like line paper, and but with like, I don't know if it was like colored pencils or what.
It was a colored pencil or crayon.
Yeah, and it looks
very
striking.
Very striking.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with how the combat system works. The overworld is very Earthbound-like. And the game is very striking. I've heard very good things about it. I remember seeing it. I want to say it was like a Kickstarter game, or something of that nature. Previously, but there's a lot of people who feel very strongly about this game and are very excited about this game. So I'm excited for them, even if it's not my thing.
Yeah, I think it finally came out last December, I think, and
okay.
They had wanted to bring it to the Switch. I think it's like a really small team. And so they were like, it's going to take us a while, and sort of like what is it, Wildermyth? They right after the Indie World, Fanbyte put up a story and said it's coming. We're still working on the Switch version, but it's going to take at least another year to port it, so it'll be out eventually.
Gotcha. Yeah, I believe, if I could be wrong on this one, but I believe Omori is the one that had mostly a single person doing mostly everything.
I think they
from
did
coding
do most
to
of
music
it. Yeah.
to art. Which is super impressive. I mean, that person's personality really shines through in the game, but also just like, it's very, very like striking and beautiful, and it's kind of crazy to imagine that it was mostly one person who put that together.
Yeah, especially when you look at it and it's just it's pretty wild to think, okay, one person pretty much made this game, and it was the game that closed out the indie world.
Yeah, it was definitely good as a one more thing. A game that has excited a lot of people who have played it already.
Yeah.
And speaking of, so we had some games today that they either shadow dropped, some with a demo, or ones that were available on other platforms that you played, Chris. So I thought we would talk a little bit about those.
Yes.
So you had mentioned one, probably the biggest one is Chicory. This was a game that was very much wanted on Switch, and it kind of just showed up in that ending montage.
Yeah, it was really weird how it was just, they showed it for like 2 seconds, and then they were like, out later today.
Like, oh, okay. So this one is also a very visually striking game, and you said you played a little bit of it, so what do you think of it so far?
Well, I played it when it came out earlier in the year on PS5, and I think it was earlier in this year. Yeah, it's been a blur, but yeah, I played it, and it's a lot of fun to just go around. They got like 2-player mode. One thing I noticed is, so I tried to play it originally, is random, but I tried to play it with, because it's got gyro controls and touch controls. I guess before I get into that, I'll just say what it is. So basically, it's almost like a top-down Legend of Zelda type game where you're going around. For some reason, all of the color in the world disappeared, and you are left with this brush that can paint the world whatever color you want. And I say whatever color you want, but really there's like 5 colors they let you pick, at least at the start of the game. And then as you can go around and just color a different people or different things. And then they made good use of the HD rumble, which is a thing I don't find myself saying much, 4 years after the Switch came out, where most people just kind of forgot about the HD rumble. But let's say there's like a tree, a bush, and a person like next to each other, and a building, and if you were to move the brush across all 4 of those things, or all 5 of those things, the controller would vibrate at different variations as you brush over different things. So every time you brush over like a tree, the trees all feel the same, so that you're brushing a tree as opposed to something else. And it was pretty fascinating how they did that.
That is really cool.
Yeah. And so basically you have this brush. There is different plants that when they have color, they some of them contract and go into the ground, and other ones you paint them and they lift up, and so then you can like walk by paths, or if you need to get by, you can just erase the color and then sneak on by. And it's all the different styling that they have, and like it's sort of like puzzle based, and then but also at the same time there's like this corruption that's happening, and you end up doing boss fights using the paintbrush. And so you're like running around and you're using the gyro controls, so you can either use the gyro controls or control the brush with the right stick. But if you're playing with 2 Joy-Con right now, I was discovering all these things that were going on with the game that I didn't know. One being, I tried to play with just 2 Joy-Con, and when you play with 2 Joy-Con, the game thinks you're playing 2-player, and so it won't let you turn the gyro controls off, only when you're using Pro Controller or playing in handheld mode. So it doesn't let you do that, like turn it off. So
right.
So there's that. But then when I got the game like this, pretty much the second it went up on the eShop. So once it went up and I downloaded it, it downloaded 1.0, and then it turns out it was supposed to launch with 1.0.1. So when I updated it, it kept crashing until I deleted my save. So I had to start over after I got the update. So if anyone else runs into that issue, there's that. But yes, the game itself is black and white, and then you get all these different costumes. They got really good writing with all these different people in the world trying to like wonder what's going on with this world. And everyone's like, oh, Chicory is the name of the hero that has the brush, but you just happen to find it. And so everyone's like, oh, well, they clearly trusted you since they gave it to you, and you just kind of go along with it. And so they'll ask you like, hey, listen, I know there's no color in the world, but it would be great if you could just paint my house back until the color gets back. I don't care what color you paint it. And they kind of like do those things to just show you like, okay, if you if one thing's closed off, let's say you do the roof and you hold down the paint button. You don't have to swipe it back and forth. You can if you want it to look sloppy, or you can just hold it down and then it fills in until it gets to the edges so it doesn't cross the lines.
Oh, I see.
So so if you want something filled in nicely, you can just hold down the button, or if you're just, in a hurry and you just like the way it looks, like everything's kind of like slapdash together, and it's just
right.
It's really enjoyable so far, and it looks really good with like the colors and everything on the Switch OLED in handheld mode.
Oh god, yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
And so in handheld mode, are you able to choose between right stick and touch, or do you just use touch?
You can use right stick, touch, or gyro controls. The gyro controls are where you're painting. So yeah, you can pick. You want the right stick, touch. I wouldn't suggest touch. Like, I haven't tried it yet. But maybe it'll work fine. But in my head, it's not going to work well touching the screen while running around a boss, like trying to fight it. So maybe if you had it on a flat surface, or if you're laying on your stomach on your bed or something, and you try and play it that way, that might work. But it really just thinking of that brings back nightmares of trying to play Kid Icarus with one hand on the analog stick and analog nub, and one hand with the stylus in my hand, like moving the camera around.
Yeah, I know some people felt that way about the Switch version of The World Ends With You as well.
Oh yes, yeah.
And the 2-player mode is it like the second person is controlling the brush, or
the second person controls a separate brush. So then you have two brushes. So you can both just be coloring. They can just color. Let's say if you want to do puzzles, they can just do the stuff while you're running along, or they can help you with boss fights, and they can just paint whatever they want. They can just paint over your character, and you go from there. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. That is $19.99 on the eShop right now.
And does that one have a demo, or is it just
no demo? Just you can buy it if you want.
You can buy it if you want.
Yeah, you can buy it if you want. If not, well, watch the trailer again, I guess.
So another game in that montage was Don't Starve Together. Now I think you mentioned you'd played a little bit of this, not the Switch version, but a little bit of it on another platform. How is that?
Don't Starve Together is it's basically the Don't Starve, which is on the Switch, and it just lets you play multiplayer online. So it's like you're just playing through the game, but with another person running around helping you. So
it's the same game, just multiplayer?
Just with like multiplayer, yeah. And I think eventually they had some like Don't Starve Together, like a beach theme, and so you were like in the ocean more than you were in on land, and it just kind of changed up the environments. But that's some of the DLC, so I don't know if that's going to be in Don't Starve Together or how they're planning on doing it. But they had originally said they weren't going to make Don't Starve Together, but then Don't Starve came to Switch, and it did so well that they were like, okay, we're going to go ahead and port it over, because they had a really small team working on it. So they said it was just going to take some time. And last time I asked them about it, and they said it was just going to take some time. And apparently we're getting there, because I think did they give a date, or was that just 2022?
That is a good question. It is mentions how the Don't Starve original game trial is on, but I don't see any mention of a release date in PR anyway. So I guess I don't know. It's coming at some point.
Yeah.
And so there's that game, which to me it sounds like, if you're familiar with Don't Starve, then you kind of know what to expect here.
Yeah, and
So
it just playing with friends, which it does say available spring 2022 in the montage.
oh, cool,
So,
excellent.
yeah.
So that's another spring, another spring.
It's another spring 2022. We'll see how it works out.
And so then next we have Grime, which was briefly shown in the montage as well. And I think you said you play a bit of that on Stadia, actually.
Yeah.
What is that game about? How is it?
It's pretty much like a 2D Dark Souls game, and you run around. You're kind of like this beam of light that turns into like a human. You like take the form of a human, and then, or not the form of a human, but the body shape of a human. You're kind of like a mold, and as you go along, you're getting resources by killing the enemies, and then what you can do is you go to these like sort of pillars, and where you're praying, and while you're doing that, it like saves it. It's kind of like a campfire where it just resets everything, so all the enemies come back. But there you can also upgrade, and so you can put like more armor on your body so that you can take more hits. You can do different things like that. You can find different you might have to grind certain enemies to get the right resources that you need to upgrade to a point where you can advance easier. You could still do it, but some of the things are made so that if you have certain either abilities or armor or more health, you can take more hits and things like that. And yeah, it is well, when I played it on Stadia, it felt well enough, but yeah, I'm looking forward to see how it runs on the Switch and how it ends up turning out. So yeah,
definitely. And then we have a similar type of game, is Dungeon Munchies, which was not part of a montage for once. It was its own segment. This was a 2D style roguelike. I think to the untrained eye like mine, my immediate thought was, oh, it's kind of like Terraria. I don't know how accurate that is.
Yeah.
But that also dropped today, and I know you picked that up as well.
Yeah, it came out today. And yeah, it looks like Terraria in the sense of like the character movement and just the way you work everything with like attacking and things. And then similar thing to Grime, where you'll kill the enemies, they'll drop like either meat or if some of them might be trees, so they might drop a branch when you blow them up or destroy them. I was playing, I got 2 swords, so when you pick up these supplies, every once in a while you'll get to like a little camp area where there was basically a genie who popped out of this frying pan, it seemed like, with a face on it. The frying pan has a face, and then there was this woman, her name is Simmer, and she is talking you through everything, telling you what to do and how to do it. I played it on like just casual, just let me enjoy the game mode. So basically I was getting hit, but they were barely doing any damage to me. So, which is my favorite way to play a game. So then so I was, especially like a game like this where I wouldn't normally play a game like this, but the frying pan with a face and like the cooking, they had me at cooking. I like cooking.
I noticed the cooking element was very pervasive.
Yes, and I'll dump like a frog leg and a branch in this, or a bush in this pan, and then also like a handgun gets dropped in there, and I'm not sure what's happening, but then all of a sudden like a slushie will come out, and then it'll be like, okay, if you drink this slushie, you're going to get 10 HP back for the next 80 seconds or 90 seconds, whatever it was. And you'll be going through and doing that, and at the same time, like, beating these enemies, and then you can have primary weapons and secondary weapons. Secondary weapon can be a sort of projectile, or it could just be another sword. And so I was just, it's like R and ZR, and you just tap both, go kind of back and forth, and you'll
like
be
dual wielding.
Yeah, you're basically dual wielding, hitting them repeatedly with these two different swords. And there was also like a little sack of rocks you could get if you wanted, and then you just start throwing rocks at enemies, but which seemed to work for like they had some enemies that were like flying enemies. And then as you went along, you got different recipes and different crafting recipes, and so it seems to like build off of that.
Right. It seems like the primary like thing here is getting these different cooking recipes, and kind of using those to build your kit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I didn't get to any of the parts like they showed in the trailer where you have like these crazy guns and like laser beams that you're shooting at enemies, and there was all these enemies coming at you. I didn't get to that part, but yeah, that one also does not have a demo, and that one is, I think, $16.99.
Okay, yeah. So buy it or don't.
Yeah, buy it or don't. Yeah.
And we also have this one was not part of the montage either. It was Figment 2. Now, Figment 2 obviously is a sequel, and my brain was like, oh, what is Figment? And you mentioned you had played the original Figment.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you have any extra insight into what kind of game Figment 2 might be. I know someone described it as like, we have Transistor at home or something like that.
It's kind of like, like this isometric, like, sort of like, it's a story being told, but it's also like a puzzle game. So like they're telling you a story, and there's a game that's kind of like this on iOS. Something Valley, right?
Okay, yeah, I'm not familiar, but that I'm sure it's out there.
Yeah, I can't. Monument Valley.
Oh yes,
Monument Valley.
Yes.
It almost reminds me. It's kind of like that, but not quite as puzzly, because that's almost more like Captain Toad, and this is kind of like more of they're telling you a story. And the second game, they added a lot more like combat. I played the first game. I don't remember combat. Not quite to the extent that we see it in 2, where it seems to be a lot more combat focused. But at the same time, what they're mainly doing is telling the story of this thing that might be like a figment of your imagination. And so since it is that, they can kind of like go off the wall with what they're adding into the like the world and what's happening around you. Right,
that makes sense. And I noticed, so this one is out in February and has a demo today as well. And the original game is also 90% off.
Yeah, the original's $199, and Figment 2 is February, but like you said, the demo. So if you aren't sure about that one, you can kind of play the second one and then sort of see what's going on with the first. And I saw a couple people on my timeline go through and play the demo and enjoyed it so much that they went and got the game since it's on sale for 90% off. And then, so they're planning on playing through that before February hits.
And we have one more game that you also played a little bit of, which came out today, which was Timely. This was a shadow drop today. I believe it also has a demo with it. And what is this one like? This is more of a puzzle game, right? A stealthy puzzle game?
Yeah, so basically what happens is you get to the beginning of a section, and at the bottom there's a play button, and so you can watch the whole scene play out, and then you kind of know what's going to happen. And they kind of show it to you by showing, okay, while you're running, this is going to fall from the sky, break open the ground underneath you and hit you, and you're going to fall off. So you need to stop that from happening. So you can hold down L, rewind time, get to the part where right before it hits you, you stop your character so they don't move. Then you fast forward the time, and then you kind of manipulate the ground so that it repairs itself, and then you walk forward and beat the level. And then once you get to the end, you hit X to execute, and then it plays the whole video again and shows you how you get through it. So then once you go through there, then the next area, it's like, okay, these robots are on patrol, they can't see you, so you need to stop your character at just the right moment when they're looking towards you, so this wall will stop them from seeing you. And then when they turn, that's when you move your character past them to open up a door, and then you got to wait until they're not looking again, and then go back, and then you can get through the door. But you got to do it all before they see you, and you got to do it before the time runs out, because there's only so much time in the video. So you need to go ahead and get that, and then once you finish, then you just hit play, and then it plays through it again. It's almost like a more puzzle and less action version of there was like a samurai game that was like that.
Katana Zero,
yeah. So
yeah, that was what I had in mind.
It's kind of like that, but instead it's like a top-down view with like 3D graphics and very stylized looking still, and you're working the puzzle. And yeah, it's out today. The demo's out today. It is $21.99. I don't know why.
Very specific.
But sorry. It is not $21.99. It is $19.99. The game that is $21.99 is Let's Play Oink's board games, like the board game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was one we didn't really talk about, but yeah, that's a little board game compilation with local and online that also dropped today.
Which seemed to be like a bunch of different board games, and there are actual physical board games of those games, and they all come in the like little boxes, and they put them all together almost like a tabletop simulator.
Yeah. Have you played any of those? Like the physical ones?
No, I never played them all, but I was considering getting it if enough of my friends get it, because they don't. It's not like they have like a host game and a non-host version.
Right. It's not like Jackbox where like one person owns the game and then other people like join in or something.
Yeah. No, everyone would have to play, but it does have 8-player multiplayer. So.
Oh wow! Okay,
we'll see.
That's
Maybe
really cool.
If I can find 7 other people that want to play, we'll go ahead and get it. Plus, they said it's got 8 games now, more coming in the future. They didn't say if they would be free or paid, but they will be coming in the future.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting too. I'm curious if any will be free or if it'll just be like the DLC situation.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, with that, we've covered most of the stuff that was shown, just about. So I guess to end out here, what were your thoughts just on today's presentation in general? How'd you feel about it?
I thought it was pretty good. It was not my favorite like indie world that we've had in a while. I liked the way it opened, and then the second game, the locomotive, and then there was kind of like a dip in a couple games there where I was just like, okay, well, I was hoping, I don't know what I was hoping for. I wasn't hoping for Silk Song. I had a feeling that was not happening, but in terms of like what they did show, I really liked what they did show, and I guess there's just more games that are on other systems that I wish would come to the Switch, and I was in my head foolishly hoping that we would see some of them kind of like Bug Snacks or The Artful Escape or The Big Con, and we didn't get any of those, and so that was really just and Wadham, and that was more on me for wanting more than rather than just go in and kind of like, oh well, here we go, let's see what they have. Last year's December Indie World, they had Among Us, and that was the game, the one more thing, and that was out today. So when it was the last game and it was out today, when they showed Omori, I was like, oh, that's going to be out today. And then it was like, we'll see in 2022. And then I was like, oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a bit weird of a presentation. I didn't really go in expecting much. I hoped that maybe Chicory would show up. And I liked a lot of what was shown. There's a couple, I think for me, the presentation was best at the beginning and at the end. Like, the beginning first couple of games were cool, and then it was kind of a lull for me. And then the end with, River City and the montage and stuff was a lot of the stuff I liked the most in here was some stuff that was in the montage, like Parkosaurus and Chicory.
Yeah, same. I liked the Parkosaurus, Chicory, and then even like Grime, and Don't Starve Together. The idea of being able to play that with other people, because I believe even on the other systems, I think Don't Starve Together was like an add-on for Don't Starve, but I think it might end up being its own separate.
It kind of sounds like something that would be a DLC, but isn't. I'm still a bit perplexed by that one. I was hoping for Ollie Ollie World to show up because I know people wanted to see it. I was hoping that it would get a date. I thought it would drop today, but getting a February date isn't bad.
Yeah, I thought it was going to come out today too because it was going to be like out now, because what ended up happening was I think that like Twitter account or website that show like what games get added to the PSN back end, like Ollie Ollie World just got added last week, so everyone thought it was going to be a part of the Game Awards, and then when it wasn't, and then Nintendo announced this, I was like, oh, Ollie Ollie World's going to be out now, but I guess it's in the back end because you'll be able to pre-order it, so that's why it's in the back end, and it has nothing to do with being out today, which I would have liked.
Yeah, it's definitely wasn't my favorite indie world, but I thought there was some very cool stuff. I guess if you could pick one game from this presentation, either one that is already out or one that you're looking forward to, what would be like the game of this presentation for you?
For me, the game of the presentation, if I could only pick one, it would probably be Sea of Stars, because I really liked what the team did with The Messenger, and I liked playing that game and what they did with it, and then the idea of playing this, whether it's an action RPG or a turn-based RPG, just the look of the game and the idea that there could be like a really meaty, long RPG waiting for me holiday 2022 or spring 2023 has me really excited.
I think for me, there were some that were known, like River City Girls 2 and Chicory, obviously are known quantities. But in terms of something that I didn't expect or that I was excited about that was shown, it would probably go to Alicia with the not so great logo, just because of the asymmetric
Yeah.
multiplayer co-op thing. I just think that's really fascinating. So I really hope that turns out well, and I definitely want to see more on it. Another spring 2022.
Right. Yeah. If we were going that route, the one that like came out of nowhere that I wasn't expecting that I'm super excited about is probably the Locomotive, because
Yeah.
and a bunch of that is because of the what was it, the Overboard game,
Yes.
and the movie Knives Out.
Oh, yes. I still
Yeah.
haven't seen that.
Well, yeah, it's kind of like a whodunit murder mystery movie, and it's been a while since like a really good one of those came out that I liked. And so like that with Overboard, when they showed this game, I was like, oh, I hope this is out today, but that is 2022.
Yeah. We've got a lot of 2022 today.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was Indie World, this year's December Indie World. Before we go, a couple of things here, some housekeeping. As you guys probably know, if you are listening to this, we are on YouTube or Spotify or on your, favorite streaming platform. If you liked listening to this, if you like this episode, any sort of likes or if you want to subscribe to one of our feeds is very much appreciated. If you listen to it on YouTube and you'd prefer to listen on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, that is all, that's all out there. We have an Anchor link that will be in the description. Second, if you'd like to join the Discord and talk with us about indie games and other fun stuff, that is the Nintendo Pipeline Discord server. That can be found at our website, which is nintendopipeline.wordpress.com. It is a semi-inactive community blog that you can check some content out on as well, but there is a link to the Discord there. And then lastly, I wanted to thank our guest today, Chris. Thank you so much for being on
Oh yeah, no problem.
with
Thanks
me
for
today.
having me.
And so where can people find you if they want to find you? Where are you on the internet?
Oh, where am I on the internet? I'm on YouTube and Twitter, and I guess Discord as SuperNintendad. Pretty much anywhere. I pretty much got the name SuperNintendad, except for if I don't have it, I guess I usually go for SuperNintendad though, THO. But yeah, SuperNintendad on YouTube and Twitter, and I post a lot of just gameplay footage of Switch games, and I'm thinking about posting some like video reviews and things like that, but in the meantime, it's just gameplay footage.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking for gameplay footage and you don't like when people talk over it, then that's awesome. You can just kind of see some stuff there. We'll have the links for the YouTube and Twitter in the description. But yeah, so until next time, we will see you again. Thank you for listening, and let us know what you want to see in the future, and we'll try and do something cool. We're getting towards the end of the year here. We've got one more episode coming out before the end of the year, and then we're going to take a little bit of a break. But until then, we'll see you next time. And yeah, bye-bye.